Hello, my dear students. Welcome to today's class. The topic for the day is reproduction, as you can see on your screens also. Okay. So, first of all, let me tell you what is reproduction. See, children, every living organism, for the sustenance of life, it has to perform various processes like digestion, fertilization, ingestion, digestion. So many things are there. So, reproduction is also a part of it. In reproduction, what happens? The living organism gives birth to offspring which has the same quality which the parent has. Okay, that is reproduction. The giving of birth, ठीक है ना, of the baby is known as reproduction. Okay, so you can see on your screens now. Yeah. Reproduction is a process that is essential for the continuation of species. It is very important. In case reproduction is not there, the next generation would not be there and the species would extinguish. Okay, so with the help of reproduction, what happens? The species keep on continuing. Okay, so the process by which an adult or a fully mature organism give birth to young ones of their own kind is called reproduction. Okay, now reproduction are of two types: sexual and asexual reproduction. Okay, reproduction is of two types. They are sexual and asexual reproduction. Now, what is asexual reproduction? In asexual reproduction, the parent, it's not required. In asexual reproduction, male and female parent, it's not required. Okay. The birth can be given by a single parent. But in sexual reproduction, the presence of male and female parent is very important. Okay. So let's continue now. Come to the next page. Okay. In asexual reproduction. Okay. In this type of reproduction, a single organism is involved in giving rise to a new individual. Okay. Only single parent is required over here. In asexual reproduction, only single parent is required. Okay. Now, where do we find asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction is seen in organisms like amoeba and hydra. There are two main ways in which asexual reproduction takes place. First is binary fission. What is binary fission now? See, binary fission is a type of asexual reproduction in which the parent cell roughly divides into two to form daughter cells. This method of reproduction is seen mainly in unicellular organisms like amoeba. Organism which has only a single cell, that is amoeba, it can be seen in that. What happens there? The nucleus, it divides itself into two parts. Okay. As you can see in the diagram also, here, the nucleus is there, the parent cell is there. You can see over here, the parent cell is there. Now it is dividing. Okay, it is dividing into two cells, into the daughter cells. Okay. And this type of reproduction is found in unicellular organisms. Okay. Now, moving to the next one, budding. Okay. Now, what happens in budding? Budding is a type of asexual reproduction in which a part of the parent cell forms a bud, which detaches itself to form a new individual. This method of reproduction is mainly seen in organisms like hydra. So, it's a very beautiful example over here, the hydra. Okay, what happens? What happens over here? The parent cell, it starts forming a bud. Okay, here you can see the bud is formed. Okay, this is a hydra and bud is formed. And what happens after that? Once the bud is ready, okay, what happens? It detaches. It deattaches from the main hydra. Okay, in this method, a small part of the hydra on its side forms an outgrowth called a bud. The bud formed is not a single cell but made up of multiple cells as a result of multiple divisions. The bud grows and develops a mouth and tentacles. Once the bud is fully grown, it deattaches itself from the side of the parent hydra. Fine, children? Now, moving to the next one. Okay. Now we have got the next one. See children, just now I told you about asexual in which only a single parent was required. Now we'll talk about sexual reproduction in which both the parent is required, the male also and the female also. Okay. Now, sexual reproduction is one in which both the parents are involved in giving birth to their offspring. Both the parents are required, as I told you, the male and the female. So, formation of gametes takes place. Male produces sperm and female produces an ova or egg. When the gamete meets and fertilize, a zygote is formed. A zygote undergoes multiple divisions, and after completing the gestation period, a new individual is born. Now, sexual reproduction is of two types. One is giving birth to the young ones of their own kind, and the other one is laying eggs. If in sexual reproduction, what happens? The parent gives birth or the parent lays egg. Fine, children? So, these are two types of sexual reproduction. Now, we'll talk about reproduction in human beings. You can see on your screens also. Okay, fine. Now, reproduction in human beings involves both the parent. Whenever the sexual reproduction is there in the human being, both the parents are required, the male parent also and the female parent also. Now, gametes from each of the parent meet and fertilize to form the zygote. The male gamete is called the sperm and the female gamete is called the ovum. Fine, children? The male gamete is called sperm and the female gamete is called ovum. Sperm is motile and travels all the way to the fallopian tube to fuse with the ovum. It does not divide and hence has a limited lifespan. The ovum is the female gamete and is released into the fallopian tube from the ovaries. Fusion of the ovum and the sperm takes place in the fallopian tube. Where does a baby develop? It develops in the fallopian tube of the mother. Okay? The baby is inside the mother's womb. Fine? So, the fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization. What is fertilization? The fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization. So, and the product of fertilization is called the zygote. When both of these things together meet, okay, then what happens? A zygote is formed. The zygote develops into an embryo after it undergoes multiple divisions. Now, what happens? The zygote is there. It undergoes multiple divisions. Okay. And what happens at the last? What do you get? You get an embryo. Okay. This then moves to the uterus and gets implanted there. The embryo develops into a fetus. Okay. The baby which is there, the mother's womb is known as fetus. Fine. The fetus develops inside the female's body. This development period of the fetus inside its mother body is called gestation period. Every living organism has got different gestation period. Gestation period is the period in which the fetus is inside the mother's womb. Okay, like in human beings, what is the gestation period? It's 9 months. Okay, the gestation period in human beings is 9 months. And what is gestation period? The development of the fetus inside the mother's womb into a baby is known as gestation. Fine. Now, we'll talk about main reproductive organ. Okay. Now, in males, reproduction organs consist of a pair of testes, sperm ducts, ureter, and a penis. They are located outside the abdominal cavity in a sac called the sectorial sac. The testes and produce the male gamete or sperms in millions. Fine, children? Now, okay. Now, I said you about the different parts. Okay, the different parts of male reproductive organ. Okay, first is the testes. It produces male hormones, testosterone. The testes of man starts producing sperm at the age of 14 to 15 years and can produce throughout his life. Okay. The testes, they can produce a sperm. At what age does it start? When the child is the male child is 14 to 15 years and it continues throughout his life. Okay. Now sperm ducts. The duct connected testes and ureter. These sperm ducts carry sperms to ureter by the muscular action of its wall. Now, ureter. It is a long tube that arises from the urinary bladder to carry urine. It runs through the penis and opens to the outside through male genital pore. Fine. Thus, ureter carries urine as well as sperms to the penis. Fine, children? Now, what is penis? It is a muscular organ. It injects the sperm into vagina of female body. It also throws out urine from the body. Fine, children? These are the different reproductive parts it found in a male. Now we'll talk about female reproductive organ. Okay? Yeah. You can see on your screens also. Female reproductive organs. Okay? The female reproductive organs are a pair of ovaries, the oviduct, that is the fallopian tube, and the uterus. There are three main. First is ovaries, the second is fallopian tube, and the third one is uterus. Fine, children? Now we'll talk about ovaries. What are ovaries? A woman has two ovaries. The ovaries produce female gametes known as egg or ova. Fine? There are two ovaries. And what is their function? Its function is to reproduce the egg or the ova. Fine? Now we talk about fallopian tubes. This is a thin and coiled muscular tube with a finger-shaped structure near the ovaries. The ovum released by ovaries is picked by these finger-like structures. The egg is fertilized by sperm to form zygote in the fallopian tube. Okay, where does the egg starts developing? It starts developing in the fallopian tube. So now we'll talk about uterus. This is a bag-like muscular organ which is connected to both the fallopian tubes. The development of the zygote to mature baby takes place in the uterus or womb. Okay, yeah, the baby starts developing. Okay, the fetus is there and the fetus develops into a baby. Now, vagina. What is vagina? It is a wide muscular tube in which the uterus opens to the outside of the body. Fine. Now, how does fertilization takes place? Okay. Coming to the next one. As you can see on your screen also. Yeah. Every month, the ovaries release an egg or the ovum by a process called ovulation. Okay. The ovum reaches the fallopian tube. Okay. Now, if sexual intercourse takes place, the male releases sperms into the vagina. The sperms travels all the way up and enters the fallopian tube. If the ovulation has just occurred, there will be an ovum in the fallopian tube. One single sperm penetrates the ovum and fertilizes it. The fertilized ovum continues to move towards the uterus. Then the fertilized ovum attaches itself to the uterus. This is called implantation of the fertilized egg. Now, I'll tell you about different types of fertilization. First is internal fertilization. As you can see on your screen also, name is internal. Internal means inside. Okay. In internal fertilization, fusion of gametes takes place inside the female's body. For example, fusion of gametes in human occurs inside the female's body. Where does the baby develop? In the human body? It develops in the female human body. Okay. External fertilization. As the name says, external means outside. Okay. In external fertilization, fusion of gametes takes place out of the body. For example, in frogs, fertilization takes place outside either parent's body. Now, test tube technology is there. Children, this is the latest one. Okay, science has developed a lot. And what happens in test tube technology? In this technique, freshly matured ova collected from the ovaries by using a special syringe and semen from the men are kept in an incubator. The sperm fertilizes the ovum to form an embryo. After a week, the zygote thus formed is then inserted in the woman's womb, where the embryo gets implanted and develops into a baby in about 9 months. Most of the parents, as a lifestyle has changed, is changing at a very fast speed. What happens? There are many uh, uh, females which are not who are not able to conceive. So this is the technology through which they get their they get their babies. Okay, that is the test tube technology. Now moving to the next one. Now next one is gestation. Okay, what is gestation? Gestation is the period between implantation of the fertilized eggs in the walls of the uterus till the birth of the baby. Okay, it is a period when the baby is inside the mother's womb, where the fetus develops into a baby. Okay, that is known as gestation. All the living organisms, they have different gestation period. But if I talk about human beings, the gestation period is for 9 months. Okay. Now, moving to the next one. Okay. Care after birth. Okay. The baby is born. Now, the baby is so small. When the baby is born, it is called an infant. Okay. He or she cannot have anything on its own. So, what does it feed on? He or she feeds on mother's milk. Okay. The mother breastfeed the baby. Okay. And that is very important. All the nutrients which are required by the baby the baby is getting from the mother's milk. Okay. Now, reproduction in animals. I have spoken about reproduction in human beings. Now we'll move about for reproduction in animals. Okay. Animals reproduce by either giving birth to young ones of their own kind or by laying eggs. Either they give birth or they lay eggs. Okay. Human beings, they only give birth. They cannot lay eggs. But in the case of animals, both can be done. Okay. Animals that give birth to young ones are called viviparous animals or mammals. Okay. And on the other hand, animals that give birth by laying eggs are called oviparous animals. Fine, children? There are two types of animals. The ones which give birth, okay, to the young one are known as viviparous. But on the other hand, the animals which do not give birth but instead they lay eggs, those are known as oviparous. Fine? Now, this you can just go through life cycle of a hen. Okay? There's nothing much to tell you about this. Just you can go through it. Okay? Now, the next one. Life cycle of a frog. This is also very simple. Just go through it. There's nothing much to explain. It's very simple. The moment you will start reading, but with full concentration, you will get the things easily. Okay. Now, life cycle of butterfly. You just have to read all these three and the things will be very much clear to you. Now, what is cloning? Okay. This is a new term for you, cloning. Okay. You can see on your screens, cloning. Now, what is cloning? Cloning is a technique in which young ones that are genetically identical to the parents are reproduced. The young one that is produced by the method of cloning is called a clone. A cloning is a genetically identical to the parent. The first successful cloning gave birth to a sheep called Dolly. See, children, what is cloning? It is artificial, okay, artificial method in which the baby, okay, which is there, is of better quality, okay, better, everything would be better than the mother, okay. That is known as cloning. Cloning is a technique in which the young one that is produced, okay, genetically it is of better quality as compared to the mother and the father. Fine? Now, advantages of cloning. What are the advantages of cloning? Now, if I talk about the advantages, cloning is done to obtain the good features of the parent in the offspring. Cloning of crops produces good yield is done so that the seed obtained from there also give rise to the crops that produce good yield. The milking capacity of the cow can be obtained by cloning. A sheep that gives superior quality wool can be cloned to produce offspring that have the same characteristic. Cloning also has its disadvantage. Everything has got an advantage and a disadvantage of its own. So our cloning has also got some disadvantage. Most cloned animals have abnormalities due to which they die soon after birth, because as it is an artificial method. Okay, so what happens? What happens over here? The baby may have some sort of abnormalities, and after the birth, it dies. Okay, so children, with this, I finished the lesson. Just go through the lesson again. The more you will read, the more things would be clear. Thank you and have a nice day.